Good evening! Welcome to episode 63 of Easy8's Online Painting Club. My name's Danny, says it right down there at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to apologise before we start. Got a bit of a croak. I've just eaten some dinner and a glass of wine, and it's in my throat. I can't seem to shift it. So apologies if I'm coughing a lot. It's not the dreaded COVID. I hope you guys are all well. Today has been a bit of a rough day for the people in the UK, especially in the county that I live, which is in the southwest, especially in the north of said county. It has been a very traumatic 24 hours for the people that live here. With the Storm Eunice that has just come through, there's at least 8,000 homes that are without power and completely and utterly damaged. I am fortunately, thank whoever, to not be included into that damage. So for those of you that are maybe watching this live now or later on and that you have been affected in some way, I hope that you are well and that you recover swiftly from it and that no long-term harm has come to you. It's been quite life-shattering today. Nowhere near to the extent of what some people have experienced across the world, but it's still pretty unprecedented for this part of the world, especially this part of the country. It's been apocalyptic. I had to stay at home and work from home today because the police basically said if you can, you should stay at home. And then I've seen sheds and barns and houses lifted and then smashed across roads, live power lines in some areas. It's been pretty intense today, and it's just starting to die down a little bit now. Hopefully this evening, for those of you who are involved in any of that, this is a little bit of a reprieve. So get your paintbrushes out, come and chill out with me this evening, and let's just get some painting done. I wish you all the very best. We've got some people that are joining us this evening. We've got Luke, we've got Leslie that are joining us this evening. We've got Ayo and Yodel. We have music. I was going to ask. I hope that we have music. I can hear it. Last week I didn't know that the error was there when we got started. And Luke says, hey, no pending doom coming from the silence. Well, hopefully you guys are all living strong and well up there. So some things I wanted to get done this evening. I'm back working on my Tyranids as of last week. I was so tired last week that I didn't even have chance to sort my life out before the show even started. So I didn't really know what I was doing. I was kind of just rolling on, just kind of soldiering on with it all. This week I've got a bit of a better idea of what it is that I'm cracking on with, what it is that I'm doing. I've even got paints, because last week 2 of the paints that were crucial to the work that I was doing, I ran out. I actually went and bought way more than I needed. If you've been on Facebook, you would have discovered that I went and took advantage of Games Workshop's Citadel promotion, which has been in promotion for a while now, at least a year. But you can buy like 9 of their paints and get a 10th one free, and that 10th one can be one of their larger ones. So I took them up on that offer and I got the large cracked earth paint, because why not, right? I've got loads of greys, got loads of greens. Greens are for a project for another day. More on that as and when that happens. Gonna be cracking on with Tyranids this evening. Would love to know what it is that you're painting this evening. So if you are working on something today, get over there, tell these guys, Luke and Leslie. Sometimes there are more people in the live chat. If you want to stay quiet, that's absolutely fine, but get involved, get talking about it. This is a social club, it's not a tutorial show by any stretch. So if you've got something that you kind of want to talk about, you just want to come along for the social, that's fine as well. If you've got some problems with your miniatures, have a chat with me, chat with those guys over there. If you just want to kind of show some stuff off, you can post your works of art on our Facebook page. It's there for everyone to use. And of course there's also the Easy8 after party on Discord at the end of the show. I will be on that for very long this evening, but I will be on there for a short bit, because tomorrow, very, very early, weather depending of course, myself and a good core of the Easy8 community are going to the Southwest Model Show, which is going to be really exciting because it's at Bovington Tank Museum, which is one of the world's premier tank museums, and we are all very excited about it. As far as I'm aware, there are still a couple of places available, so if you want to go to it, you want to kind of join up with us, the Easy8 community, then there's still opportunity still to go. It's over 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. Myself and a good group of us are going on both days. It's going to be amazing. And you know, if the model show turns out to be not what we're after, there's like a whole museum filled with tanks. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting, and I'm really stoked about it. So yeah, I'm going to be getting my head down a bit earlier this evening, packing the studio away, get my paints all put away a little bit earlier tonight so that I can get a good night's sleep. Some more comments going in from Luke and Leslie. Luke says that hopefully finishing the big knight base today. So Luke has been working on his second Imperial Knight, really big miniature, putting the big back into miniature. Yeah. Messed that one up, didn't I? Yeah, looking forward to the last one. Came out astonishing, so I'm really quite excited to see what it is that you're going to put out of the bag with this one. And then Leslie says, as usual, as of late, I've been doing music stuff, so no painting. That's cool. Coming along for the social. It's going to be great. Still got a creaky chair. Totes soz. If you're new here, you just subscribe. That'd be great. Subscribing to the show helps me make it better. So yeah, if you're new and haven't subscribed, please do. And if you're worried about being cut off by the power that could go, because so like I say, some 8,000 homes have been left without power, you could just click down there somewhere. There's a little bell icon. You know what to do. Go push that and it'll tell you when I go live. So if you miss it, that's where you get it. That's where you get it all back again, hopefully. So yeah. Let's take it back over to the workbench and see what I'm doing over here. I've got my Carnifex, and I was working on the carapace. I'm pretty happy with the carapace on the back here, and for the moment, pretty happy with the tail bits down here as well. I'm going to do the chimney pieces on him much later on, because I'm handling it quite a bit. I'm using those to hold it, and I'm taking a lot of paint off the top, so I'm going to worry about those later on. Right at the end of last week's show, Jeff, who isn't live this evening, he's my dad. Hi, Dad. Said, hey, you should paint the claws like tooth coloured or bone coloured or whatever. And I deliberately didn't do this back when I first started this paint scheme, because I wanted all the claws to be grey like the carapace. Because I was inspired for the colour scheme from a image that someone had, like an artist's image of Tyranids, and it was cute nids, and I thought, despite them looking like little cuddly toys or whatever, the actual paint scheme or the colour scheme was really, really cool, but they had all grey claws and carapace. So I was trying to stay true to that by not using bone colours or other colours for their claws, but actually this really works. And if you were to watch last week's show, you were watching last week's show, I discussed a couple of issues or conundrums that I'd had with the shading aspects of these particular claws, or their claws in general. I didn't really know how to approach it. So then Jeff, my dad, said, paint them like, bone colours. So I had a quick go at it. I painted it right at the end of the show, and then after the show as well, I was just putting some photos up on Facebook, like saying, is this what you mean? It works, doesn't it? I like it because it breaks up the monotony of all the grey, because there's a lot of grey on these bad boys. But it also, just kind of adds a little bit of colour, a little bit of flair to it all, and it kind of brings your eye in and goes like, this is the armour bit, this is the business end, this is the danger. You want to stay away from this part here. So I thought, do you know what? I'm probably going to bite the bullet, and I'm going to do all claws, bone colours. That does mean going back over a few of my other models to kind of bring them back up the spec, but I can do that later on. And it's not a very hard job. Out of all of the colour aspects of my Tyranids, the bone colour is actually one of the easiest things to do. This helps me solve a problem with my Broodlord, a model that I'm particularly proud of, when I started to really get quite quick but also good at the colour scheme that I was painting. It's just down here, if I get my nice paintbrush to point with, on this sort of Tyranid spire that is coming out of this little acid pool that I made down the bottom. The carapace is grey, and his claws on his feet are also the same colour. And I remember trying to highlight them in different ways to sort of separate them. It's actually quite difficult to see them. Now, in the real world, if that was a real thing, that would be kind of cool. Like, you'd expect it to be the same colour, whatever, doesn't really matter. But when it's a model, I wanted to kind of make them separate. So I could make these claws on his feet also that bone colour as well, and just kind of bring in another element, another colour to kind of break this whole thing up. What that would do, of course, is it would separate the claws from the from this piece of terrain here, and just make it a little bit easier to see and spot. So yeah, I don't really know if I'm going to do that yet. That's a problem for later. Does need a good old dusting down, that's for sure. But yeah, some things to think about, some things to consider. So today I'm going to be getting back on with the grey, getting the new paints out. I haven't even opened them yet, and just trying to tidy everything up here. I was mixing my own greys last week, so when I was tidying up this piece of exoskeleton here on the forearm, it was a little bit darker. Not too happy about that, but that's okay, because I went and got a whole range of greys. I went and got all of the layer range from Citadel in their greys. So I've got, I think, the darkest. There's a couple of really dark ones here. I've got Skaven Blight Dinge. Never seen this one before. So, well, you know, I've seen them on the shelves, but I've never kind of looked at the actual colours that they have. So that's a nice dark, almost browny kind of a grey. A slightly lighter version. That one, Storm Vermin Fur. Comparing those two together, they got like a bit of a, I keep going out of shot. They got a bit of a browner element to them, so they'll be a nice like additions to terrains and things like that. But I can talk about that a little bit later on. That's why I kind of picked those up. I've got Eshin Grey, which is a nice mid-tone, or even dark tone, I suppose. I thought it was mid-tone. The other two colours that I normally use are Dawnstone and Administratum Grey. I use this one here as my base grey, and this one's my highlight grey, and I'd run out of them entirely. And I've got this one here. When I was looking at this a moment ago, I thought this one would be my base colour, but actually it's quite dark. So I could use this one as a darker grey and then blend through to the highlights on this one here. It's just nice to have a good range of greys. I actually really like working with grey. I think they're a really good colour set. Just interested to see that Dawnstone. Does it compare to this one here? So you can see it's a new branded label, but the actual colours are the same. So that's good. I thought that was a much lighter version. Gonna give him a good old shake up on my Vortex paint shaker there. Leslie straight in there with the compliments. Dude, that looks cool, and the idea of making the claw stand out will definitely look awesome. Thanks, man. Can always count on you to make me feel good about my miniature choices. Let's give it a good shake here. Right, let's pop open brand new paint pot. I always have problems with the Citadel paint pots. They always seem to want to just flap straight back down again. That one seems to be quite stable. I've got also for this evening my wet palette just out of shot over here. It's huge. It takes up quite a large area of my table, so it's just out of shot. It's also, because it's white under my lights, it's really glary, so it will just stay over there for the time being. I'm really croaky. Maybe I'll wash it down. A nice cheeky glass of red wine this evening. Right. These are not like the normal paints that I use, these Citadel ones, which are, because I use the Game Air range, which is airbrush paints. They're very, very watery. I use those on a dry palette, but I'm going to be using the wet palette for this one here to mix them down a little bit. Keep them hydrated. I'm going to add a bit of water to them because of the fact that they are a bit thicker. Just a touch more. Oh dear. The last couple of weeks I've been struggling with a back problem. A bit of an injury in a rotator cuff. It's been bothering me for a couple of months, and it kind of got better, and then it came back for me. And last couple of weeks it wasn't helping towards my tiredness levels. When I went to see the osteopath yesterday, and I am pleased to say that I am well on the mend and generally feeling very good about it. Like, it actually has improved my mood, and yeah. Don't normalise your pain, folks. If you've got a pain, go and see someone about it. But just sitting at the table, actually, and my little workbench here is much more comfortable than it has been. I have done very, very little this week in terms of actually getting, you know, the projects done. Had a little go painting, I say, the claws on this one just at the end of last week's show, and then a little bit into the following day. But I've been working. There's a lot of training development going on at work at the moment because I work in a seasonal activity centre. We're kind of getting ready for opening and training lots of people, so yeah, it's been very full on at work at the moment. So in the evenings I come home, I sit in front of the TV after a little bit of dinner with my partner, and then when she inevitably falls asleep on the sofa, I get my little model Stuart, my 1/35th Stuart. I've been putting that on together. So that's been my taste of miniatures this week. Very little painting, but a lot of building. And I posted a little picture of the progress of that build on our Facebook page, which if you haven't already gone to our Facebook page, you should head on over there and have a little look. We've actually had quite a few new Followers, just people coming over to have a little look, which is always nice. But there's a couple of people that have liked and followed the Facebook page, which is wonderful. So if you're watching today or even on playback later on, welcome. Thanks for coming along and showing a little bit of interest. It's really nice to see you. A few new viewers and a few new faces to the YouTube channel. Just trying to bring that original colour back in. The reason I painted over this last week was because I'd used a staining colour. It was basically a black ink, but I didn't really know where to put that black ink. There's a couple of little like divots, impressions if you will, that are just around where I'm painting now. So I saturated the area with an ink and thought I will tidy it up and then work backwards from the shaded colour. It didn't work. So I was trying to cover it up. Sometimes I don't think before I act, and then I have to do a lot of like tidy work or repair work. I'm very impulsive when it comes to this sort of thing, and that's why I think I walked away from Games Workshop with 10 paints rather than 3, which is what I went in for. But never mind, eh? You can see on the inside of this piece of exoskeleton on the arm here that I'm painting that actually it's just all black down there. And it was that I was trying to cover with the grey last week. Very experimental when it comes to painting. I often don't know what it is that I'm trying to achieve, so I just for good measure stick paint on it and just see what happens. And most of the time I'm drawing out of the pot. Why am I doing that? Most of the time I'm disappointed with what I have done, and yeah, I have to go back and repair. But it is a process of elimination, right? Put a bit of paint down, you realise that that actually isn't what you wanted, and then you erase that, coat back in, start again. I've watered this down enough that the ink is showing through this little layer. That's fine. I want to keep my paint layers nice and thin so I don't cover up, well, put too much paint on, cover up any detail parts down there. There's not an awful lot of detail in there, but what there is, I don't want to ruin it. But it's showing through will hopefully add to sort of a rendered effect. Right, now you can see here that I've got some sort of darker areas. The base of this claw here and in this area of this big part of the claw. I'm going to completely do away with those because, like I said earlier, I'm going to be going to the bone colours, which I think will just generally be nicer. It does leave me to consider what other parts I want to do that colour. Like, do I want to do these spikes down here? Maybe, maybe not. Do I want to do the hooves that colour? Because if I'm going to do the feet claws on my Broodlord, then I suppose that stands to reason that I should do hooves that colour. But hooves aren't claws, so maybe claws get painted bone colour and hooves don't. Chris has come to join us this evening. Well, hello there, and the obligatory little emoji set that. Yeah, I love it. It's great. Nice to see you again, Chris. Missed you last week. I was trying to get in. I was trying to get in contact with you. I was looking forward to chatting with you last week, but I didn't get the chance. So sorry. Yeah, hope you're doing well, mate. Leslie has gone on to say, no. Oh my goodness, I can't read this. Probably probs, dude. Just my honest opinions and truths. I thought that was like a really long sort of chemical word or something that I was never going to have a chance to say. Thanks very much. I have the same problem with pretty much everything. Oh, bless you. So, right, I'll come back to the side in a minute because I need to do a bit more grey in there. I'm going to cover up this side over here. And then I'm going to have a little look at the other greys that I've bought. and I'm going to see what sort of colours, what sort of shades they are, and see if I can use any of those darker ones to my benefit. Because what I've tried to do is so hard to explain outside of my own mind what it is that I'm trying to do at any given time. With the black, I obviously create a part of the shading, the deepest parts of the recesses, if you will. And I can wet blend that ink and it stays moist for a really long time, and it can get some really cool effects with minimal effort, and it's really, really cool. But in some areas, shallower areas, it's not necessary, like in the tiny little impressions, little dents, if you will, and it's not necessary. So I'm painting over it with thinned paint to try and make like darker greys or, you know, washed out blacks. But if I can just sort of paint those areas with a little bit of thinned down dark grey, then it might actually be a better method, and in the future I won't have to spoil everything by slapping expensive ink shaders all over the area and waiting for ages for them to dry. Because you can see what I've done here, look, that's a bit of a glorified mess, isn't it? So let's paint over that. Let's get rid of this. You can hear the winds blowing outside my house, even through the walls and the roof, and my noise cancelling headphones. It's still blowing a storm out there. I wonder if Chris has been experiencing over there in Germany, if you've been experiencing any foul weather at all lately. I think it's just the UK that's been taking the brunt of it, but I wonder if other countries have been experiencing some stormy weather too. Even the beast from the east a few years ago was nothing compared to what we're experiencing today. We had our very rare red weather warning, which is a threat to, or as it is written, a danger to life warning, which we seldom get down here. So yeah, we often live with amber, but that's much more minor. It's quite a step up to red. So it's yeah, for us to be in a red warning is quite a big deal, I think. I may have watered that paint down just a little bit too much there. Just apply it a little bit thicker, just to speedily cover that shader. Now you can see that little cream line, little detail in there. That's like the typical detail that you'll find on a Tyranid model. Some sort of just alien feature. Who knows what they are? Some people call them vents. I like to think that they're like exposed sinews, muscles or something. So I paint mine all sort of pink. And I do that the same way that I've achieved this pink here, this muscle mass in there. I paint it an off-white colour, Screaming Skull or something like that. And then I put a pink wash over it. Or a Carabao Crimson, which is a really nice red shade from Citadel. Just make sure that I'm still in shot. Chris has replied, oh yeah, we even had a tree greet us and the bridge was closed. Wow. Yeah, I've seen quite a few ancient trees being lifted up on my social media feeds today. I don't know why I say social media feeds. I'm trying to sound like important. On Facebook today, my personal one that is. Yeah, some ancient trees being lifted up. It's very sad. But it was the power lines, life power lines. I suppose is the closest threat that we've got at the moment to where I am, just down the road. And that's actually in the town that's right by the coast. I live a few miles away from the coast, so we get quite aggressive weather, blows through quite quickly. But down the coast, obviously, they'll be feeling it quite harsh. And for a while it was touch and go. I was wondering, are we going to lose our power? Am I going to be able to run the show today? Because even before the storm hit yesterday, here's a fun story. I was not able to top my house up with electricity. I don't pay my electricity by a meter, by a bill, as is quite normal. I have like a little key, top-up key. And as long as you keep up with that, it's absolutely fine. It's actually cheaper to afford, I believe. And it's something that I've always done. And for some reason yesterday, when I was getting quite low on it, so like I say, I've been quite tired and a little bit under the weather lately, physically that is. I wasn't able to go out earlier to go and get some electricity. So yesterday when I went down, I had £1.14. That's about a day's worth of frugal spending, like saving quite tightly with that. And my key broke and it wouldn't work, and I had to get a replacement, and the process of that was extremely convoluted. And for a while there, I thought I was going to be living without power in my house for up to about 5 days. So it was quite nerve-wracking. But at last minute, the power provider came through with a solid success and saved the day. Yeah, I'm laughing about it now, but it was not funny yesterday. And I genuinely questioned, am I going to be able to put a show on today? So the little bit of power I had in my laptop, I sat in the corner of my house. I didn't even have any hot dinner. That's how bad it got. And I made the schedule for today. I thought, let's see how it goes. And then, yeah, it all worked out in the end. So if the power does go out this evening, I'll probably lose connection to the show. But it will probably be due to the storm. Okay, I've put quite a bit of grey down there, covered up a lot of the mess that I'd made in the past. Quite happy with where we're at here. Now the claws down the bottom here, I tidied up the hooves last week. These claws down the back, I'm just going to pop a little bit of light grey on the bottoms because I tidied these up with the darker grey, and they do have black at the bottom of there. I don't think my camera's really picking it up quite so well, but because I put a darker grey down, it's going to add to the blending effect, make it look like the points of the claws are a little bit lighter. Cheating, if you will. I can see that Kez has joined us. Hi Kez. Can't just quite read your comment right now. I'll have a look in just a second. I hope you're alright. Kez is one of the people that's coming into the Southwest Model Show tomorrow. I hope you're as excited as I am. Really looking forward to going away. Like I say, if you are interested about coming to the Southwest Model Show, obviously it's easy if you're local. But if you want to go, I do believe that there are still some places to go, and tickets are about £14 to £15, and it's really worth going. Yeah, cool. Kez, hi all. Chris says we already lost ours this week. Oh, crazy. I suppose you're referencing to the power. Kez, hello. Yeah, Kez and Chris have developed quite a friendship over the live chat here. You can see the excitement in the block capitals going in. Leslie says I have to go. I have a top-up key. It's cheaper by quite a bit. Same with my gas. Yeah, I also pay mine by gas top-up as well. It is cheaper. Hello, Kez, my friend. How are you? He's got a new Battletech source book and more mechs today. Nice. I would love to see some photos of all of that. Please do put them up on Facebook if you are willing to do so. That would be great. Because you're collecting a whole range of mechs, aren't you, at the moment? So, yeah, quite an ever-growing army. We must have a game of Mech Warrior sometime when the fates allow. That would be awesome. Right. So, there's a couple of other spikes on here. Just a couple more on these guns here. And they've just become a little bit faded through handling, and I never really painted them that well in the first place. So I'm just going to paint these guys now. Just working out how to hold it. There we go. Get a bit of paint in there. That's a really noisy track on the music there, isn't it? Screeching away in my ears. Okay, and the other gun here. points of all the claws that that rub off. That sounds like an obvious thing to say, but I'll always end up with like little yellow dots right in the tips of them because the whole model is undercoated with yellow. There we go. There are, on the insides of these guns, they are death spitters. That's one of my favourite Tyranid weapons. A little claw that sticks through here because they're supposed to be kind of merged with the creature that carries them. Their hands kind of like push through and you get the claws to stick out on the inside. Never really noticed that until a little while ago. I don't know if my painting will show off or even my colour scheme will really show that off very well, but I like to be thorough, so I'm just going to get some grey in there as well. There we go. Lovely. I just wiped that grey right across his face, but that's all fine. So now I need to consider my other grey. So just going to let that dry just for a second, and I'm going to wash my brush out. Pop the lid down on that colour. I like the greys, they're really nice colours. And I'm going to have a little look at the other greys that I've got. So, I've got Administratum grey, which is the light grey, the highlight colour that I use. I know what to expect from that one. The other three that I got are ones that I've never used before. Eshin grey, excuse me, is the darker of the greys. If I open that one up, I can see that actually that's quite close to the colour that I was mixing by accident last week. If I compare it against the Carnifex, you can see that actually has a place within the sort of the blend colours on there. So I could use that like the next step down from black. Really handy. Had a feeling that's what I'd use it for, so I picked it up. Then the other two greys that I've got, like I say earlier, they're more brown. They've got like a bit of a brown element to them, and I'm quite excited to use these ones because if I once again bring over my miniature for my Broodlord, you can see that I do a soil colour that's also grey. Like I've said so many times before, the idea, the story that I like to portray with my Tyranids is that they've kind of already won, and they remove all the biomass, all the nutrients, everything that they can, people, plants, animals, even the nutrients from the soil. They absorb everything and take it away, and basically they're just a locust. So I thought, well, what's soil going to be like after it's had everything removed from it in a very like acid attack kind of fashion, like it's all being regurgitated or left behind, and it's just a blank canvas of a planet, a rocky soil if you will. So I just tried to, I know it probably would just be like a clay kind of mixture, but I wanted to go even further, so I just kind of made it grey. I wanted to separate the grey from the grey of the carapaces, so I was playing around with like brown shades and things, so I think I just put a little bit of Agrax on there and highlighted it differently. It served the purpose for a time, but I'm still always looking for other ways of getting around it. So I played around with blue washes. I've got somewhere here a quick shade from Army Painter, quick shade. This is a blue tone. It's a really nice colour, and it has a really interesting effect on the grey, but it goes too blue, and if you use it too limited, it doesn't really have any sort of effect. So I've got here my Trigon, which has got a base that is just painted black, just so I thought if I pull this one out I can just test the colours out nearby the other colours that I use. Does that make sense? I'm just blabbering a little bit now. So if I just give these a little bit of a shake and a little bit of a stir, I'm just going to put them on that base there, just see what colours they come out and compare them. Chris says, let me just come over to the UK. Coming over to the model show. You know you want to. Go into a tank museum, Chris. You can buy me that tank that you promised me. I await the response eagerly. So this is Skaven Blight Dinge. I think this is a slightly lighter version. This model has been sat there for a while, so it's picked up a little bit of settled dust on it, so I'm just going to wipe that away. Okay, here we go. So, yeah, no watering it down, just going to pop a little bit in the palette over there. And then, yeah, just going to slap it on. Interesting already, the colour on there. You can't see it, so I'll bring it in to show. Yeah, I hope, again, what I see is always a little bit different from what you see, I think. It's, yeah, I'm trying to work out what colour that's kind of leaning to. Slightly warmer grey. It's not as brown as I expected it to be. It's almost green. I quite like it actually. I'm going to go quite thick, just so I can get a good saturation there. Yeah, that's fun. It's got a, yes, a slight greeny tinge to it. It's quite hard. It's very difficult actually when you're red-green colourblind. There's the response. I'm not going to buy you a tank, get your own. Interestingly, today I saw a job advert for a tank driving instructor, but it is a good 4 hours away from where I live. So yeah, that's not going to happen. Like, that could be an interesting job. I believe my stepmom was looking at it. Cool. So yeah, certainly a darker grey, leaning towards like a greeny tinge. Peculiar. And this one here now is Storm Vermin Fern. I can see that this one has a slightly like browner element to it. Oh, Kez says that she's posted pics of a Battletech loot. So if you're interested to see what Kez has recently acquired, head on over to Facebook. There's a link just below in the description to all of the platforms that we're on. We're not just here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. When work isn't so busy, you can find me chilling out in my spare time on Discord. You should come along. Feel free. Right. This one's actually quite a bit lighter. And it's almost moving into the realms of khaki colours. So this could be a good colour for like picking out details on bases like rocks and then maybe staining them with some colours to bring them back into the cooler range. But it certainly has an earthier appeal to it, and it still keeps it looking toned in, if you like, with the colours of the carapace. I want it to be related. I don't want to be completely detached from them. I want it all to be almost like the Tyranids have kind of got a camouflage with it. Dan with a tank is a good idea. Thanks very much, man. Cheers. As Luke saying, if you need a reference for the two Skaven colours, they're the main greys, black highlights I use, mainly used on my Sisters of Battle hair. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll have a good look, I think. I just picked them up because I'm an impulse buyer, so how I'm going to use them yet, I don't know. I just know that I'm probably going to use them. Got shaky hands today. Yeah, quite like that. Maybe I could use both these together and use one as like a shade colour and one as a highlight colour, perhaps. Interesting. Yeah, just nice to see those colours. So let's pop that away and come back to the Carnifex, because now I'm going to try and do a little bit of highlight and shading on here. So areas that I've still got to put a lot of effort into, these forearm pieces are my main blight at the moment, so I think I'll be getting stuck into there mostly. I might use a little bit of the Eshin grey, the darker grey that I've just bought, to maybe put a little bit of shading on some of the panels, some of the the plates on him. Mostly on the thigh, the top plate, as I said last week, all the other plates have got like black on them because they overlap, and I wanted to highlight them or reference them with a shader line between them. But on the top one has nothing over the top of it, so I feel that it needs something there. So I could just shade it slightly darker, which I think I might do now. Let's have a play. Experiment, yeah? Here we go. Getting some Eshin grey. First time out the pot. Pop that on the palette. It's quite a bit darker as well, so I'm going to water it down quite a bit, get it nice and thin. I'm just going to put the smallest layer on there, really, right at the top, and then I'm just going to feather it down towards the lighter end. Right, I'm just going to wash the brush out and then pick the paint up with a clean brush. Go. So always dust, always fair. It's quite a bit darker than the Dawnstone grey that I've been using, but not quite black. which is great. So if I just ever so gently feather it back in a minute I'll go and get Dawnstone again, and I'll feather towards that area and blend the two. I suppose essentially what I've done here is I've just added another colour to the carapace, where before I used 2 greys, I'm now using 3 and I'm adding a darker stage into it. It's not really like an after effect or anything special. In the future I'll just probably start with a darker grey rather than Dawnstone, which is now my mid grey. It's going to be quite difficult to get in close to the inside of the thigh here. I actually don't think I need to blend it in with the lighter grey too much at all. Let's get a bit more grey in there. Actually gone quite light in the colour palette in the palette there. Keep wanting to take it out from the pot. That's a bad habit. Okay, and now the other side. I'll just do a simple line, not too big, just across the top there. And then just feather it back in. Am I happy with that? Yes, I most certainly am. That's really good. That is cool. Right. Well, that's gone really well. What I'll do with this colour while I've got it there is I'll just do what I was trying to do with the black on the forearms, because the black was just too much and forced me to cover everything over again. So on the outside here, I'll just a little bit of darker grey just in around here, not being too neat at the moment because I'll neaten it with the other grey again. I'll put in a little bit, there's little spiky bits underneath the forearm just to kind of give them a little bit of something. I'll just pop some of this grey in there as well. Just shows them off a little bit, makes them stand out. I took that from the pot, stupid me. Covering over all that black shader in there. It was unnecessary. Did it with the right idea in mind, just very poorly executed. Now let's look on the inside of that forearm piece. Quite difficult to see anything in there really, so not going to go over the top. Wonderful. Back to the other side. It's getting to the point now where I'm going to have to actually attach the Carnifex to a base so that I can hold the base and not wipe all the paint off of it all the time. becoming increasingly more difficult to hold. Okay, there we go. So, now moving on, I'm going to go and get my Screaming Skull and I'm going to paint the claws. I'm actually going to go back over this one. This was just a test piece, so I'm going to make them both bone white colour again. I've got a couple of choices with my bone colour. I have Screaming Skull Citadel. I also have the nearest colour with the Game Air range from Vallejo. It's called Bone White. They are ever so slightly different. The Bone White from Vallejo is slightly whiter, and being an airbrush colour is much more transparent. This has better coverage and is a really good quality colour. I much prefer this one. I know that generally speaking I prefer Vallejo colours, but this is the superior pigment in this case. So this is one of my go-to in my little toolbox. Gonna give that a good waz on the old waz machine. I'm sure I'll regret saying that later on. Cool. A sip of wine. There we go. So, Chris, I'd love to know how your painting is coming on. Last week that you said you were just doing a few bits and pieces to it. How are you getting on with that today? Or lately, if you're not painting today. Bit of Screaming Skull in the wet palette over there. Just thin that down with a little bit of water. Here we go. So, I'll start on the grey side. Hold it gently. There we go. Here we are. So, you can clearly see it's going to take a couple of coats. This is why I'm going to be repainting the other sides. I went quite heavy with it, and I rushed the whole thing because it was just very experimental. It was just trying to try out to see what it all looked like. Like I say, I wanted to stay true to the original concept, which was all grey for all bony parts, just because it was what I saw in that picture. But actually, a little bit of deviance from that original concept. Chris says, I still want to come. I still want to throw it out the window. Why do you want to throw it out the window? Your paintings are excellent, and you should be very proud of them. I've seen some of the works that that you've done, the ones that you shared with me anyway. I think they're fantastic, and yeah, don't throw your stuff out the window. They always say, don't they, that every artist, for everything that they're not happy with, you should always keep it. You should never throw away anything, so that you can see how far you've come and learn from it all and develop. I know that it's a constant reminder of how well you think you're not doing, but yeah, don't throw it out the window, man, because it's better than you think it is. Do you know, it's been a very stressful week, especially the last few days. And right now, sat up here at the top of the house, a glass of wine. The heating's on. I don't have any back pain today. The storm's a distant memory, and I'm painting my models, and I sat with all my friends. Very calm right now, in my little place of zen. So thanks for coming along and being a part of it. And of course tomorrow morning, though I've got to get up early, I'm going to see a model show at a tank museum. Has there ever been anything more nerdy? The one thing that I didn't get the other day when I went to go get the paints that I was supposed to get at the same time, but I had just forgotten about it, was green stuff. Because last week I was talking about the failed attempt at sculpting on this Carnifex that I had done, and one of the words of advice that Leslie gave me was to use green stuff over some of the other products that I've been using. I have used green stuff very limitedly in the past, so I know that it is a very good product, and surely since I've used it last it can only have improved really. I know that it's a much stickier product, so it will stay stuck to the model better, but the stuff that I've used here is still tacky to a degree. It's kind of sticky, and it, when she drops down and tilts forwards, she sticks to the whatever surface she's landed on, which is no good. Let me close my paint lid there. Chris says it's a school thing and that stuff never turns out well. Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe it's because it's forced art. I see, like a project that you are told to kind of do, not something that comes truly from the heart, maybe. But I'm sure it's going to come out really well. Is Kez painting anything this evening? Are you painting any of the new Battletech models, or are you more just reading the source book that you've got? Leslie says, I've got a little bit of green stuff around here, so if you wanted to use what I've got left, and you're more than welcome to have it. Oh, that's very kind of you, man. Thank you very much. If I find myself in the neighbourhood, I will perhaps drop in. There's a few supplies that I've got to pick up for some future projects that I want to be doing on the show, so I should be getting some green stuff with that, but of course if that's delayed for any reason, then I'll be sure to give you a shout. Thank you very much. My quiet voice is my tongue sticking out sound, isn't it? You can tell I'm concentrating because I've either got my tongue sticking out or I'm just not talking. People say to me, Danny, you talk so much, how do you do it? It's kind of what it's all about, isn't it, really? I see a lot of like workshops or you know, just Twitch shows where you can see like a pro painting all their models, and as cool as it is to watch, I'm like, oh, they're not talking, just because it's just a window into their life. You're just kind of seeing what they're doing, but they have no need to talk. But social club, so I need to talk. And also, I like to talk quite a bit. I want to say that it's a natural talent, but I think more than anything it's a bit of a curse. I was always that kid at school that you couldn't shut up. That was me. But I was not the popular kid. I wasn't unpopular. Just always had something to say. Okie dokie. We have got somewhere with these claws. Pretty happy with that. That's all very exciting. You can see that there are some other colours, other areas with this colour on there as well. These are like little tubes, little, I don't know, pipes, organic pipes that connect certain things, the weapons and things together. I don't actually paint them bone colour. It's the base colour that I use to make it all go pinky, fleshy colours. So they can just stay that colour for now. Just give them a bit of a clean up while I got the paint on the brush. There we go. Lovely. And there we are. And I think what we'll do for a minute is we'll have a quick break. I'll certainly wash my brushes out. So yeah, we'll have 10 minutes because we've got ourselves to 8 o'clock. We normally have a 10-minute break here anyway. Just before we go, what have we got here? Leslie says that your concentration voice is so loud. Chris says, could you maybe be more quieter? Yeah, I mean, I can leave for 10 if you want to while I go wash my water out. You should definitely wash your paint water out. I'll see you in a few minutes. Cheers. And I'm back, and I took my own advice and I cleaned my own paint water out, and I've actually glued my Carnifex to a base. So I'm just using that paint water jar at the moment just to hold her in place. Super glued it rather than poly cement, because I thought that there are some parts that have been painted already and you need the bare plastic, or as much bare plastic as you possibly can, to be in contact with one another, because poly cement melts those surfaces together. If you just put it on paint, then it's just going to affect the paint, and sometimes you don't get a really good bond. But also, it's a little bit easier to break super glue, so if I want to go back in there later on after I've done some paintwork and I want to get into do the base, it might be a bit easier to break the base away. So I just put on a little bit of super glue, tacked it, if you will. So there we go, look at that little base stack on there. I hope you had a good break. Hope you went and changed your paint water too. I just realised I missed some of the comments that were going in just before we went. Kes just says that she's just chilling today, so no painting today. Cool, thanks for coming along and joining in the ride. And then basically Leslie just told me that I'm most welcome for the offer of green stuff. Cheers, man, really appreciate that. So yeah, I've just glued the Carnifex down to the base. I'm going to be cracking on a bit more painting. I'm looking at it, I think that I'm at a point where I don't want to say I'm almost done, but I'm well beyond that halfway point, which is good because it's been sat on the desk for such a long time. It's hard to tell where that point actually is. So yeah, exciting moments. Going to be doing a bit more work with the bone colour today, I think. So I'm just going to be doing like a couple more layers on what I've already just put on. So yeah, let's head back over to the workbench. Here we go. Cool. Let's increase the size of my screen so I can see what I'm doing. That's better. Apologies again for the creaky chair. What can you do? So yeah, I put her on a base so that I can hold it a bit easier. A little bit dusty over here because I had to sand the bottom of those feet off just to kind of make her a bit more level. I thought, oh, maybe I could use some poly cement, but I did want to be able to break it away later if I needed to. And also the base is partially painted, so I thought, well, super glue it is. Super glue. Also, the super glue that I've got is from Green Stuff World, and it bonds really quickly, and frankly that's kind of what I wanted. So Leslie says, nice one, dude. I really can't wait to see what the base looks like when it's all completed. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with the base yet. Obviously, I've got the themes that that I use, the sort of dead planet scene. But what I'm actually going to do on there, I'm unsure yet. I think I want to do quite a bit Tyranid flora, really. So I really want to push a bit more into the whole red weed thing, like I've spoken about in a couple of episodes, including last week. I'm a big fanboy of the H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds. Obviously, they have the Martian flora in that, the red weed, and I just stuck it on some models a little while ago, and it really works. So I want to do something featuring that. How that's all going to go into play yet, I don't know. I'll just be happy to call the actual Carnifex itself done. That's what I'm really looking forward to. And hopefully all the lessons I've learned doing this Carnifex will make the other two models that I've got still in their sealed boxes, will help make those go much swifter and smoother. I've been comparing my works to a lot of works online lately, and I've just makes you realise sometimes that that's a really bad idea, because there are such talented artists out there. And it makes you think, oh, why do I do it? Then you come up to have a go and be as good as they are, and then you're like, oh, yeah, that's why. I absolutely love it. It's my jam. So, just making sure that I'm getting a nice, even and smooth coverage of this bone colour. I hope you can see there. It's a little bit difficult to show. This is the problem with having the base on this creature, that is it overhangs so much that there's a lot to be painted on the underside, which is why I decided to not have the base on it in the first instance. But I think I've done as much as I can do in a detailed fashion on the underside there. So yeah, I just needed to commit really and get the base on there just so I can hold it still, just so I can hold it steady. without rubbing off too much paint. It comes off the base at this stage, that's not a shame. I've painted the base already because in the early days when I had originally painted this model and I did a bad job of it, it was a mess. So yeah, it was disgusting me and it was a distraction for the eyes, so I just neatened it up and painted it black and then trimmed it up. I'm being nice and quiet for you, Chris. What's strawberry or cherry? What do you mean strawberry or cherry? There we go. That's looking better. Because of jam. I'm not a cherry jam kind of a guy, you know. In a world of just strawberry or cherry, strawberry wins every time. But in a world where I get to choose, raspberry. Strawberry or cherry jam. Okay, starting to look okay, isn't it now? Look, that colour on those claws. I'm seriously considering keeping hooves grey and clawed feet will be bone colours as well. I've got a couple of little spikes under there and a couple of little spikes underneath. I think I'll keep those all grey just because I don't want to change every spike to bone colours. That was a decision that I'd made back in the early days of doing this colour scheme, that I'd keep all spikes and everything all grey. I think I'm going to keep it that way still. No reason why I can't change that later on. Obviously I've still got some teeth to do in there. You can see that I have painted mouth parts and all sorts in there as well. I can't remember how I did the tongues. I did the tongue a slightly different colour on my Morlock. Not my Morlock, sorry, my Trigon. Don't know why I called it a Morlock. Just to try and make it stand out a little bit more. From the gums and the actual internals of the mouth. I can't remember how I did that. We'll have a little look in a minute and we'll go back and examine what I'm doing here while I've got the correct colour on the palette, as I'm just cleaning up the teeth. Because they're still all tainted, if you will, with the colour from the gums. And it is through doing these little bits now, even though this part isn't completed at all, just kneeing it up starts to bring it all together. and it starts to make it look more completed. You know what I mean? It's, it starts to look less unfinished. Get a sense of completion from it, a sense of progression. Chris says, here's the thing, when I learned English you have marmalade and jam. For me it's the same. Turns out that the thing is also in German. Well, the more I know. Yeah, marmalade's like an orange thing, and you can have it with bits of orange peel in it, or you can have it without. I think it's traditional to have it with. It's quite bitter, it's not as sweet. Should be very tangy. I don't mind the odd bit of marmalade, but it's not my go-to. I think marmalade's a very English thing, isn't it? Like Paddington Bear and his marmalade sandwiches. What I want to know is, what's the difference between a jam and a conserve? Oh, the deep questions in life, the deep questions. Right, just add a little bit more the bone colour to the palette there. I've probably added a bit too much. I don't think I need an awful lot now. I was just running out and wanted to clean the brush out just so I could get some finer tips, points on the brush, and just so I had some smoother paint as well, just to get those teeth done. I don't think I have to go crazy with the layers on the claws, but you can still see that they're still quite, maybe you can't under the lights there, but they're still quite translucent. By the times I've put some shades on them, like some washes and things like that, they that would disappear, but I think it needs a couple more. Oh, holding my breath and I'm going quite blurry-eyed. Trying to not overpaint the teeth. It's quite easy to cake it on quite a bit here with such small details. And I'm trying to be quite timid around all the mouth parts because I don't want to slip up and, you know, delay the work any longer by cleaning things up. So I kind of get drawn into this this thing where I find it quite easy to overpaint the teeth and just put too heavy layer on there, and it just looks bad basically. So just gentle. Add a bit of water to my paintbrush there, just so I'm putting on thin layers. On such a small detail, a thin layer will stand out quite well. You can already see the difference that's made in the mouth. Hoping that my autofocus comes in. I've got autofocus on today because since I've played around with some settings on my computer, my camera won't zoom in that far, and that's due to canvas size and resolution, I've discovered. So yeah, I'm still working on some hardware and software fixes and solutions around work as being quite time consuming. So as and when I'll be able to get better quality camera effects, and with that I'll be able to get better zooms, so bear with me. I've got some comments going in. Chris going, too deep, Danny, too deep. Don't want to go to the bottom of that jam jar. Kes says, where does lemon curd come into this? It doesn't. You get yourself your lemon curd, chuck it in the bin, start with jam. I do like lemon curd. Chris says, don't ask questions you don't want the answers to, Kes. Right now, lemon curd. Oh dear. Easy 8 Spreadables Club. big fan of a lemon drizzle cake. But lemon curd, I can leave it. You take it or leave it. But I don't mind it. I'm a big fan of Marmite. I know that's not the sweet conserves that we were just talking about, but yeah, I'm a Marmite fan. I know Kez loves Marmite. In fact, I think it would go as far as to say it's one of Kez's favourite foods. How about garlic butter, says Leslie? What, just on bread? I mean, it's more like a condiment to a meal, really, surely, and in like garlic bread as a side, rather than just something you'd have on toast. Surely, tell me that's not what you do. Only with the goodness in it. Might be able to get away with this being the last layer of this on this claw here. Marmite, you just lost a subscriber. Yeah, I knew I'd get a reaction like that. I know how you feel about Marmite. Then Lizzie says, on anything, bread, toast, my face. Wow, yeah, I mean, garlic, man. It's a compliment flavour, not your. No, don't have it on your face. Get that off. Subtle flavours. Like garlic mushrooms? Oh, yes, please. Garlic on my breakfast toast? No thanks. This has turned into like Easy 8 dining club, isn't it? Easy 8 MasterChef. Oh dear. What? It's descended into madness. This is what chaos is. This is what in the 40k universe, it's garlic on your breakfast toast. Garlic Marines. There's one for you, Leslie. Okay, just that last little bit now, and I think that is more than enough coverage for these claws. Actually gone a little bit thick on this last little bit here, but it's on the underside, so it's not going to be seen anywhere near as much, if at all, really. And the important thing now is really to leave that and let that settle and dry. And there's just the last few bits and pieces really here to do. So I've got to do the chimneys, as I always say on the back. These actually still got those little vent details in there. So I'll pick those all out. Got the little spikes on the top, which I think I'm going to move on to next with this colour as well. I've got to do some shading and rendering on the forearm pieces here and on a couple of little spikes, and just enhance a few of the other areas that that are grey. And then that'll be that really for the most of the colours. Then just picking out a few little details, giving it a tidy up. Yeah, the pipes, all the pipes, anything that is kind of looking pipey or internals that are kind of sticking out. I'm trying to work out a colour scheme for putrid or not corpsey, just trying to make it look unpleasant, like it's an internal organ, but make it look a little bit alien at the same time. Trying to make it look unpleasant. Trying to stay away from sort of rotten flesh kind of colours, but that was my initial thoughts on it. And in the past, what I've done is I've just gone for really electric greens, like the what's the colour? The Tesseract Glow, which in the pot separates into yellow and a green. Mix them up, and they become a wonderful unity of the two, and you get this really bizarre bright lime green. It's quite a stunning colour, and it looks really good, but it makes the Tyranids look a little bit toyish, makes them look a little bit comic-y, and I wanted to stay away from that. And in my search for decent paint schemes and inspirations online, I've come across a few artists on the Tyranids Facebook group that I follow, and there's been some really cool inspirations. I have a Carnifex model that I use as a practice piece for all my colour schemes, so I've yet to really work out what I'm going to do for tubes on here. So for the time being, it's only these two little bits on this gun and these two little bits over here as well that are actually going to be those colours, but I want them to be colours of internals. I don't want them to be the same pinks that I do. I think they're going to be more flesh colours if I've got my studies right, if you will. So, right, what I'm going to do now is clean the brush out. Just going to give that a chance to settle and dry for a minute, and then I'm going to start painting those little barbs on the top, those little thorns, because it's a thorn back. Back in the days when you could modify the model in 1,000 different ways, it was the representation for a thorn back. Now you just have like Carnifexes, and you can have thorn back modules to them. A few comments going in. Chris says a full garlic meal. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I like garlic, but I'm not going to just sit there and eat a bowl. What's wrong with you? Already, we're not even on the Discord. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Leslie says, yep, garlic flavoured garlic with extra garlic bits because garlic. Chris says, I hope you don't plan on going out after that. Yeah, breathing on people after garlic is a great pastime. Yeah, it's a strong old flavour, but no, not for me in that quantity. I don't mind garlic, I just don't like eating it in substantial quantities. I like to cook at home. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a good cook, but I like to cook. I like chucking a couple of cloves, not a bulb. Crazy talking. Right, let's get these little nodules, these thorns, painted. Now I've got to be quite careful here because it's going to be quite easy for me in my cumbersome and clumsy ways to overpaint and go down too far on the sides of these details. And what's going to happen is I'm going to plunge this bright white colour into the shaded recesses, which are already pre-blackened, and I will lose that detail very quickly. So I will hold it like this, and I'm going to practice on these side ones here. Now this should be quite an easy task to do, but I can already see it's going to take quite a bit of time and focus. And because I have already estimated that it's going to take a while to do, again, there's like a niggling intention to overpaint them and to make them too thick, caking it on to speed the process up, and I don't want to do that. All that time just for one, let's see. So yeah, got to be careful. So that's one done. And as I do a couple, I'll get better at it and faster. So some will start to look better, and I'll have to go back to the first ones and kind of give them a bit more attention. And then I'll get sloppy with it, so then I'll have to like practice again. So I think what I might do is like do a couple at a time, like these 3 here perhaps, and then take a moment to clean the brush out, which is always a good move, and then just kind of have a rest from it. So I'm breaking up the monotony of doing all these little tiny dots. But because of the contrast of them, it's really important to get them right. Like I got a little bit of a twitch when I go in to paint, and then I ruin everything. Already that third one looks better than the first one, so I'm going to go back in on the first one now. There we go. The second one looks a little stubby because I haven't gone so far down the side of the detail. There we go. Cool, so that's the first 3. Wash the brush out. Always wash your brush out as often as you can. Now I'm going to stain them with some Agrax, just a little bit, just around the base to kind of darken off the bottoms of them. So that should help neaten them up a little bit, and then I'll put a little bit of sepia in there as well, just to kind of give a little bit of a mid-tone blend. And then if it's too dark by those shades, I'll just come back in with the original colour and just dot the tops, and it should kind of give them a nice colour. Couple more comments going in. Leslie, are you an agent of chaos? You are an agent of chaos, and I like you for that. Thank you very much, Chris. Very kind of you to say. And Chris says, on the other note, pineapple on pizza thoughts? Oh, the controversy runs deep with this one. Yeah, I love it. I'm a pineapple on pizza kind of a guy. I love pineapple. I love pizza. What's not to like? You're going to condemn me now, aren't you? Or the fact that you brought it up means that you like your pineapple on pizza? Okay, right, the other 3 then. Oh, itchy nose. The sound of concentration. Okay, this is going quite well. Just trying to keep my patience. The temptation to want to rush it to get them done quickly is overwhelming. But this is one of those little things that, like I say, I'm trying to develop my painting. Patience is the first step, I think. Any tips from you pro painters out there? I know Robert Mannion of Blightforge Miniatures watches some of these episodes. There's always Graham from Wet Palette Miniatures who watches quite regularly. Guys, if you've got any comments or tips or anything like that you can lend to me to try and just improve my ability, my skill, anything that I can focus on, simple first baby steps like patience. I know that speed and skill come over time, but if you've got any tips or whatever that I can take, I would love your input. And of course there's always John Takacs as well. Hi John. John doesn't always watch live, and if he does, he catches right at the beginning and then kind of watches back on replay because he lives over in the States. He's got his own channel. It's a bit of a segue, this, isn't it? You're welcome. Yeah, John's got his own channel, Out of This World Minis. I mention him most weeks now because he seems to be a bit of a regular. He's got his own channel, and basically he's just really into the hobby, and he doesn't do like any one particular thing. He just does whatever he wants because he just likes to paint stuff or put stuff together, and he uploads 25 to 30-minute videos every couple of weeks of whatever project he was doing at the time, and just likes to showcase his stuff off. And I think he's particularly good, and he's got some really good models and unique models. A little while ago he did Goku, which I thought was stunning and was painted, I believe, entirely with contrast paints. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And he printed it off on a new printer that he'd acquired. And last week, just as we were talking, see, I messed up there. Just as we were talking on air, I got a message saying that John had just put out his latest video, and it was a video kind of demonstrating this new product that he picked up, a verdigris product. And right at the beginning of that video, he put out a really, really nice shout out to me and here at Easy 8. Yeah, and he said some really nice and kind things about me in the show, and just I wanted to make sure that I thanked you live on air, say that though I didn't ask for any of that, and he said that off of his own back, and it was just really kind, and I just wanted to make sure that you were thanked by me personally, yeah, publicly, because it was a really nice gesture. So thank you very much, John. You've got way more subscribers than I have, and it's really nice for the community to connect. That's what this show is all about, and it's really nice to receive that gesture back. So thank you very much, John. I subscribe to Out of This World Minis, Out of This World models and minis. There's a link to it in the description of this video, so if you're interested, head on over and have a little look. The latest video was really, really interesting. It was, like I said a minute ago, it was a verdigris product. Oh, I can't remember the brand. Oh, it'll come to me in a minute. It was a very expensive product. I believe John said it was about $20, which is probably about 15 quid here in the UK. But the effects were phenomenal. It really did look like a stained and weathered coppered statue by just brushing on a product, and it was done really quite, not crudely, but without any particular focus or pattern or anything like that. You just kind of just slap it on as heavy as you want. Yeah, really, really good. And I've been keeping up with John and his releases because he's a friend of Easy 8 now, and since he's done that video, he's had a few more subscribers and a lot more followers to his cause, which is great. But the company who Down and Dirty, or Dirty Down and Dirty, they have spotted that unsponsored video, and they've given him a couple more products from that range, so more weathering products like rust and things like that, just for free, which is really generous, which obviously John is stoked about. So yeah, if you're interested in seeing that or any of John's videos, you should head on over and have a little look. And last week, live on air, we had a new viewer. We had Chimera Wargaming, who after the show I went on, I had a little look, and I've been sort of investigating through the limited time I've had this week. Chimera Wargaming are another channel from Italy, I believe, but I don't quote me on that, but I think they are from Italy, so welcome Italy. Chimera Wargaming are a father and son operation where, as far as I can gather, Dad makes the models and son paints the models, and it's, yeah, I had time to watch one video during the week, and it was, I think it was the most recent video, where the model that was being made was a stone bridge, and it was all put together piece by piece, or scratch built or handmade, and it was just fantastic. I really like things that a lot of time and attention have gone into hand making something. Was just stunning. It was really, really beautiful. And then the paint job that went over it was just fantastic. Yeah, and they've subscribed to this channel, so I wanted to make sure that we gave Chimera Wargaming a really big shout out as well. So it's starting to happen. Easy, it's starting to grow. The community is starting to get a little bit of a following, and yeah, it's nice to kind of share the love and show people what else is out there. That's what this show is all about. So Chimera Wargaming, if you're watching, there is a link to Chimera Wargaming also in the description of this video, along with Graham at Wetpat Miniatures and Purple Lion Creations. Go and check them all out if you haven't already. A couple of real loyal viewers that I'm more than happy to help out. I was watching John's video last week. He gave me a heads up. He said, like, I've given you a shout out on the video, so you know, perhaps you can watch it back and tell me what you think. So I watched the video. I watched it with my partner, and we were just, I was kind of drop jawed that someone had, you know, taking the time to say something so nice and kind in their own platform. So yeah, it was really nice. I don't do this show for the kudos. I'm not one of those sort of fake personalities that you see online where you kind of do it just for the attention. I do it because I enjoy what I do. So when the attention does come back around, it's genuine and it's very well received, and I'm extremely flattered. Yeah, and he said that, you know, we're kind of like associates now, which is really nice. So yeah, as we are becoming regular viewers of each other's channels, John, if you're watching this back later on, I'd love to catch up with you at some point, maybe over a video call or a phone call sometime when time permits for the both of us. Obviously there's a big time delay. We'll work something out, and yeah, it'll be nice to have a chat and a catch up and put a proper voice to the communications, if you're so interested, of course. And we'll see where our association and our affiliation leads us in the future. Okay, that is all of those painted. What I'm going to do now is have a quick break from it, and I'll just kind of wash my brush out, and then I come in with a fresh set of eyes and have a little look, see if I've missed any bits, or if any bits that substandard. Try and tidy it up, and then I'll put a little bit of a stain on, and I can do all the staining of all that colour at the same time. So on the claws, on any of the spikes, any teeth that I've done, and those little thorns, I'm going to call them thorns. Guess it's a thorn back. Lovely. Okay, watch the old brush out there. I've got a bit of tension in my jaw now because I think that was my concentration face. There's loads of comments going in that I might actually even have to scroll up here. Where are we? Good lord. Oh, it's been going on while I've been focusing there. I see, this is what happens when you talk about pineapple and pizza, right? Oh, where are we? No. Kes says no cheese though. Okay, so no pineapple, but you have pineapple but no cheese. Should I call hell now or later, Danny? Call them now, man. I assume that you're a pizza pineapple fan. Pineapple is no place near pizza. Garlic, on the other hand, says Leslie. and sorry, Kes, but cheese on everything. Yeah, cheese is okay, man. You can overdo the cheese too. Everything in moderation. No, we are done with that bit. Fine. How about spice? No to spicy, Chris. Really? Oh, I love a spicy dish. I mean, I don't like to sweat my face off, but I do like a bit of spice on my food. Curse word, spices life, spices law. Like cheese. Oh, Luke. Hopefully Luke's comments will bring a little bit of normality to this. Base colours down. Time for a wash. And as a chef, spices is God. Of course, Luke. Yeah, Luke works in the kitchens as a chef, doesn't he? Yes, I love spice, and I'm absolutely thrilled to see that someone is painting along with me this evening. Luke, I'd love to see some pictures if you're going to stick them up on Discord or Facebook later on. That would be great. And it carries on, doesn't it? Oh, herbs. Oh my goodness, I got no time for people without taste. He's okay. It's just going in with all the herb puns now. Do you know what? I don't think I can even keep up with this. This is just going on a little bit too much. As Chris says, I like to start stuff. Whoa, the live chat got chatty today, didn't it? Wow, cool. We're at 10:02. We're coming close to the end of the show here at Easy 8 Eating Club. What has happened? What is going on? Right, so yeah, I pushed the wrong button. We come away from the workbench, but it gives me a chance to I don't know, say something here. Hello. see what you've done? You've made me go all weird. I was supposed to put the ending symbol on the bottom of the workbench there. Right. Okay. Cool. Agrax Earthshade. Seraphim Sepia. Here we are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put, excuse me, a little bit of Agrax on all of the bone colours. I'm not going to go mental with it. I actually like to keep it as a bit of a shade colour, so up against all of the borders and like the bases of them all. So the back end of the claw here, the little thumb claw, along the flat edge towards the muscle bits, and on this big claw here, all along the edge of the carapace, to kind of be a little bit of, I don't know, bone shadow perhaps. And I'll drop it all in the little thorns there to kind of give a little bit of pooling shadow in there too. That's all I need to do on here. The teeth will get a little bit of Seraphim. I'm going to start with Seraphim because I like to work lighter and go darker with all of my shades when it comes to bone colours or brown colours. Just give that a bit of a wazz up there. And I'm going to start off really, really light with this. No need to put it in the wet palette, I don't think. I'm going to pop it in the wet palette, why not? Keep it thin. Keep it thin. So, just a gentle surface of Seraphim. What I'm really using this for is a filter to kind of bring a darker sense to the to the ivory colour, I suppose. So I just put a thin layer all over it, and then I drag the sort of the heavier bits of it, the watermarks, if you will. I draw that to the areas where I want it to be heavier. So in this case, like I just said, at the base of the thumb or along the carapace edge. And if it's going to kind of run around like water, as I hold it in the direction where gravity will feed that up. And you can see it's made a slight difference, a slight filter. My lights are quite bleachy, aren't they? So again, on this side here, put it on nice and thin, get a good coverage all over, let it run into the recesses, and then once I've got it to where I want it to go, I then wipe it all back to the areas where I want it to be heavier, like so. Trying to remove any brush strokes. It's quite easier to do this with a wash, unlike a contrast colour, where once it's on, and you have a very short space of working time. Like, you don't want to be running your brush through contrast paints more than a couple of strokes really, but with shades and washes you got a lot more luxury with that time. Chris says, "Oh, I will continue this in the Discord." Good old fun, says Leslie. I won't be over on Discord, but I shall wish everyone a lovely evening. Chris says, "Thank you." Oh, you too. And then, "Thank you, Chris. This evening has been great," says Leslie. Leslie, if you're off now, thanks ever so much for coming along and gracing the studio with your sense of humour. It's a darker day when you're not here. Thanks very much for coming along. Have yourself a lovely evening. Stay safe in the storm, and I'll see you next time. Just gonna take a little bit of the colour out of my brush there, just going in a little bit heavy with that Seraphim. And you can see that I've got a little bit of like coffee staining already going in there, and I'm just trying to be quite mindful of that now. Having that in the base areas, let's call it, the areas where I want it to be thicker, that's fine. But where it's appeared because of my brush strokes, I'm just trying to wash that away. But the problem is that you can end up washing too much away, and then you can make it even worse. So it's important, even though you've got more working time than a contrast paint, it's important to get that early. Cool. Over to the other claw then. And the amount of colour that's gone on to this bone colour here is perfect for what I want. I don't want it to be any more on the majority of the surface that I'm painting. What I might do is come back in with another layer just in the heavier areas. So again, just at the base of the thumb and things like that. I don't want the filter to be too strong. Like on the back of this thumb spike here, it's too brown. I want it to be an ivory colour with a hint of tarnish or aging, tartar if you will, thumb tartar. And with a wash being heavy at the base, often that's like a transition area from one colour to another. So on the thumb here, for example, that is where that muscle mass is pink, and then it goes to ivory. If there's a problem with the colour transition, like it's just not that neat, having a nice dark wash in there helps hide all the sins. Yeah, just like that. Little bit of water on my brush just to help control the amount of stain that's on there. That's actually made it a bit easier to control, so maybe a slight bit of water in that mix as well. Putting it in the wet palette might have been a good idea. I have been putting it in the wet palette. Wash my brush out quickly. It's a bit loaded up there with colour. Okay, so dip it in the paint just a little bit, and I'll get a little bit of water in with that wash. Being waterier is allowing me to actually use gravity a lot more than normal, so that's quite good. That's another benefit of adding water to that. But it is going to take longer for it to dry, so I've got to be mindful of that as well. And already, because it's more efficient, it's making me feel like I can rush it. So again, patience, right? Take my time. Wash my brush out, and then with a damp brush I can maybe just kind of come in, pick up a few of these bigger blobs. You see some bigger blobs on there. Hopefully my lights aren't killing everything. I can just use the capillary nature of my brush just to lift out some of that heavier stuff. Then I can move it around and I can deposit it back into areas where it's missed. Because it's a really light colour underneath, those areas that have missed that wash are really quite obvious. Yeah, already dried on this side over here, and that's exactly the colour that I wanted. Maybe it's a bit bleached out. Is that a bit better if I move it away? Yeah, that's a bit better, isn't it? Cool. Actually, I can't see anything now. Bring those back in. Right, so I'm going to put a little bit in the teeth. I'm going to use the really pale washed out stuff in my wet palette here. I don't want it to be too strong at all because they're such small details. Less is more. And I'm going to be just really quite light in there. I just washed it out a bit too much, put a bit more colour in there. There we go. And I'm using that colour to help separate the teeth a bit more as well. Actually could do with it with less water in there because it loses its stickiness, so it doesn't stick to the surfaces so much when there's more water in there. So again, coming in, that's a bit better. I should need my lights right back in. I have my lights quite close to my project. Now I'm not looking for it to be a heavy filter on the teeth. I want them to be almost yellowed really, so I don't want them to be browny bone colours, just want them to be a really off-white. And like I say, when it runs in between the teeth, it helps define them a bit more. Like that is ideal. You can see the difference, or at least I can, in my studio lights, that the teeth on the top row are nowhere near as white and pale as the ones on the bottom row, and really quite well defined. There we go. Okay, that's the Seraphim Sepia done. And all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to leave that to dry for a few minutes. I'll do all the thorns on the back as well, but I'll leave that colour to dry, and then I'll come back in with a bit of Agrax on the larger areas, just on the claws really, and I'll just use the Agrax just to help define the back edges, mostly around here. The Seraphim has done a wonderful job itself, and that just really helps to kind of add some layers to that colour The Agrax is going to be quite minimal, and on my Trigon here you can see the perfect use that I have with it on this tail spike. So yeah, it's all bone white. Then there's seraphim all over. I've tracked it quite heavily into some of the sort of recessed shapes here, and then you can see on the bits closer to the base that I've gone in with Agrax in there just to add a bit more deeper definition in there. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. The tongue in here is very heavy purple. I don't know if I'm actually overly happy with that as a colour. I'm sure I can do better. So for the tongue on this critter, I'll probably be looking to, I don't know, improve upon my existing colour scheme. Anyway, look, we're done here really, aren't we? Because it's just gone 9 o'clock. Alright, I'm going to carry on for a little while over on at Discord at the Easy 8 After Party. So if you're so inclined, you can come and join me and the few that will join us over there to carry on our painting projects. Have a quick catch up there before I go and get an early night for the model show tomorrow down at the Bovington Tank Museum. So yeah, you can come and join us for that. If you want to come and join us over at Easy 8, there is a link in the description just down there where you can set yourself up with an account with Discord if you haven't already. And if you have, just kind of find Easy 8, it's right there. And you can have a chat with us. You can just type away, or you can come and join us in the video chat, or just talk away on the microphone if you want to. I'm sure this evening we're going to talk about all sorts of cookery. So yeah, thanks again to everybody who has been with us since the beginning and joined us much earlier on, and to all of our new viewers who have been joining us recently. We've had a few new followers on Facebook, on Instagram, and here on YouTube. So thank you to everybody who has come along recently. Every new viewer is felt by me. I love it. I make this for you guys. So yeah, share it out there. Get Easy 8 known amongst your friends and family and anybody who you think would enjoy what we do. And even those people that don't, let them make their minds up whether they want to do it or not. And of course, subscribe to the show, because every time you subscribe, it makes me feel better about myself. Thanks. Yeah, that's that really. So yeah, until next week, be kind, stay safe, because it's a crazy world out there at the moment, and I will see you next time. Take care, see you soon, bye bye for now. Now it's time for some garlic bread.